topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Bonita Bell Anderson, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast. I am the host, Bonita Bell Anderson, and I am really looking forward today because we are going to be talking to somebody who has really been through a lot. So we're going to be talking about resilience and a whole lot more. I'd like to invite to the podcast stage Ty Gipson.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Welcome, Ty. So if you're not familiar with Ty, let me tell you just a little bit about this guy. He's a speaker and a mindset advocate whose message is built around one core principle, and that is that there are no options when it comes down to doing what it takes. And you're going to hear a lot about his whole no options philosophy today. He's faced life-altering health challenges that forced him to either grow or die. And he's learned firsthand that progress comes from discipline and ownership and action, not excuses. So today he speaks to leaders and athletes and everyday people about mental toughness and resilience and choosing to grow when you have no options. So Ty, for the listeners who are meeting you for the first time, what are those key moments that were in your journey that shaped who you are today?
Well, and first of all, thank you for what you're doing, and I really appreciate having me today, because I enjoy sharing these stories with folks. But the question, going back to where were some of my journey, where did this stuff start? As a kid, though, I want to tell you, I was raised down in Southeast Texas, and it was I'm going to age myself a little bit here, but in the 70s, as a kid, my parents, my dad especially, was one of those guys, hey, dust off, boy, you'll be okay. Nobody wants to hear your problem, right? And so, and I think that was just a generational type, mindset of people back then. And so growing up, I kind of thought that was a little harsh. But what I didn't realize, and I think this is one of the key moments, is I didn't realize it was really preparing me for my road ahead. Oh. And because I needed that little bit of grit, that just to be able to push through the road that we're going to talk about. And that started when I was 8 as a juvenile diabetic. And again, diabetes pretty common in the 70s. Now the technology wasn't there, right? No. I mean, it was, as we know, a lot of things have changed.
Yes,
in the 70s, and so I was diagnosed at the age of 8, and I was put on this, with
at the age of 8.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, and just I was a normal kid. I was just I was over, wanted to be a kid, playing sports, doing all the things a normal 8-year-old kid does, all the little leagues and all that, right? And so all of a sudden, just my parents realized that I was just out of gas. I was just really tired. And so anyway, come to find out, I was diagnosed there with type 1 juvenile diabetes. And so got on the insulin shots, went through all that, which was really as an 8-year-old, to go in there and find out that I was going to take shots every day was really just a big overwhelm, right? Never been sick a day in my life. And then all of a sudden, all of this. So that was a lot. And then they could never control this diabetes. And so by the time I was 10, they finally got me to a specialist, a juvenile diabetic specialist who was working on a very neat thing. And it was in the 70s, it was a chemotherapy machine that they were putting insulin in. And
chemotherapy machine?
It was a chemotherapy piece of a medical equipment at the time. And they would put insulin in it so that it would give me a slow drip of insulin over time, which we all know today as the insulin pump. Right. And so I was one of the early ones testing out the newer model of some of the new technology in the insulin pumps back in the 70s. So that was my first really big battle with kind of just being different, right? Trying to fit in, trying to be a normal kid. Why can't I have the birthday cakes like everybody else at these birthday parties or whatever that may be, right? But that was my first one. But it was really neat to be part of that insulin pump kind of testing model through, and that kind of went on for years. I mean, for the next many years, I was part of the insulin pump as it got better and better and better and better. So I rode this thing out for a while.
Well, so you're the next thing, let's move into, you've had 3 organ transplants?
Correct.
Is that the type 1 diabetes? Did that lead to the necessity of having those transplants?
Well, yes. I mean, and so being a diabetic, obviously, and really out of control diabetes there for a while causes some kidney challenges, right? So as I was talking through the years, I went through different insulin pumps, and I went to college. All these different lifestyle changes that you go through as a kid into a young adulthood, and so on and so on. But anyway, at the age of 30, I'm out of my, working in my career. I'm working on all this. I got extremely tired. So I go in, and then I found out at that point my kidneys were failing, and I was like, oh wow. Okay. But here's the deal. The doctor said, Ty, the problem is your kidneys are failing, but you have such brittle diabetes. If we just do a kidney, I'm afraid you're just going to keep going through kidneys, because I'm afraid that your diabetes is just going to continue to really challenge these kidneys. So he said there is a doctor in Baltimore, Maryland, that is doing a dual transplant where they would do a kidney and a pancreas transplant at the same time.
Oh my.
So,
and you're in Texas, and so you had to travel.
Yes, ma'am.
Across the country.
Correct. I mean, so I'm in Austin, Texas. They're in Baltimore. So I go up there just to find out if I'm a candidate. And sure enough, I am. I get there, go through days of testing, come to find out I am a candidate for this. So my mother, who was 60 at the time, says, Ty, I'm 60 years old. I have 2 kidneys, and one of these is yours if the doctor says it's okay, because I want to donate my kidney.
Wow.
She said, I feel like that is my role, and I want to do that. And I said, yes, ma'am. So as we went through the testing, my mother tested, and sure enough, my mom was a match, which was very exciting. So after testing for her, now keep in mind, I can get a kidney from a living donor, but to receive a pancreas, it has to come from a deceased donor, right? So now I'm put on a list, right? So, and this is where I always, somebody made a decision to be an organ donor, and I never have gotten to meet the family, but I'm just very thankful for whoever that may have been, but it absolutely changed my life. And I just always say thank you. And if you're not an organ donor and you have questions about it, I would absolutely encourage it. If you have thoughts about it, I would be glad to help talk you through that. But so I get on this list now, and I'm waiting. And so the doctor told me, if you don't go on dialysis, you have a better shot of accepting the organs without rejection. Your rate of non-rejection is much better if you don't have to go on dialysis. So I was determined not to go on dialysis, but I kept going and I kept going. We got to about month six, probably 6.5 months in. I finally went to the doctor, and I would go to work still, Benita. I would work, and I would come home, and by 6 o'clock, I'm back in bed because I couldn't anymore. So, but just to get back through the day, so I had very, very little lifestyle at all. And at the time, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I'm a single dad. So it was really challenging times. My family was very helpful through those times, but it was really hard. And so I get the thing about this surgery was there had been 4 surgeries, and 2 of them had been successful. And so I had a decision to make, right? I mean, I've got a 6-year-old, but I knew this. I knew I wanted to be there for her in a better state than I was having to be put on dialysis. And I knew I wanted to be here for her life, right? I wanted to be here for her. And so I had to make a decision. And this is kind of where part of the no options mindset comes in, though, is I said, look, I don't have an option but to go through this surgery. And I know it's been a 50-50 shot, right? But I'm going to be the one
decision to make.
Yeah, and it was really hard. I mean, so you're looking at this 6-year-old. You got you're trying. It was just some hard times, but I'll tell you, we got through the probably month 7 or so. I finally told the doctor couldn't go no more. I said I've got to go now. And so he brought me in. He put the stent in. And I will tell you, that was on a Thursday. On Sunday night, about midnight, I get a call from Baltimore. And they're like, hey, Ty, we've got a pancreas that matches. I need to get you mobile, get your mother mobile, and let's get on the, let's.
So you had to then jump on a plane and fly to Baltimore.
Yeah, and it was an amazing story because in the local area here in Austin, I did an interview about what was going on in one of the newspapers. Anyway, there was a company that called and offered their private plane so that when we got the call, I would be able to just get on this plane and go.
Oh, wow.
And it made it, I'll tell you, it sounds a really simple process, but when you're going through all that stress and all in the moment and all that, when the call comes, it was a blessing that they were there to really just take care of that. And I'm always very thankful for that. So anyway, we got the call. We get all mobilized. It's kind of like the movies, right? You get there, hurry, and wait. And they, go paperwork and they're getting you prepped. And so in this room in Baltimore, in the surgical room, I'm in the middle. My mother, they have a team working on my mother, getting her ready. And then they have the organ that a team is working on it, preparing it for me, right? To put it in me, right? So 16 hours later, I get through the surgery. And I will tell you, it was the most amazing thing. I wake up from after recovery, and my mother's in a wheelchair sitting beside me. And she was doing great, which was a big stress of mine too. I had a 60-year-old mother that was going through this, and I wanted to make sure she was good. So to see her was a relief. But I'll tell you, my body was in such shock because think about it. You're put too far in, organs in your body, right? That your body is not familiar with. So it's kind of naturally fighting. I woke up now I'm taking 65 pills a day. And 65 pills a day. And I'll tell you, half of them are probably, or less than half are anti-rejection meds. But
right.
There's all this stuff that the anti-rejection meds side effects, right? It could cause this and that. So it was just a lot of medicine in my body. For somebody who had never taken medicine other than insulin, it was a lot. So anyway, the doctor said, Ty, if you can get through the first year, you're going to be okay. The first year is the most critical time. And I'll tell you this, almost to the date of a year, that was the most challenging year I've had because, you have good days because they're trying to regulate it. To their defense, they had an amazing team. They were working on trying to regulate this, but it just takes time.
Yeah.
And so anyway, close to the year, I'll tell you, it was probably within a week or so of that year, it's like the lights went off, right? And there was a local interview there, a medical interview that asked me, they said, what is the difference between your life before the surgery and after? And still to this day, I think I described it the best. And I said, it's like living life in full color versus living in black and white.
Yeah.
And it was just, I felt, but I didn't realize how bad I felt, right? And so what an amazing time. But I will tell you, Benita, I like to talk about this because we all have stories. I mean, mine, I've had some challenges, but we all have something we're dealing with.
You know, having just come from Hawaii, being in Hawaii for a year, they say talk story.
Yes.
They talk story in Hawaii.
Yeah, which I love that.
Actually, when you're just doing that, you're talking story.
Well, the thing was I didn't realize how bad I felt.
Yeah.
But after that year, I got going, and I'll tell you, on the other side of whatever we're dealing with, and I always try to teach a little bit here because I want people to know, whoever's listening, to know that today may be tough, yesterday's tough. We may be going through some relationships, some medical, whatever that looks like, business, whatever. I will tell you, on the other side of adversity is some amazing things. Mm-hmm. Amazing things. Because after that year, I was able to get married. I was able to adopt our second daughter. And then I was able to start our companies. I had two businesses that I started. And so I will tell you, it's worth the fight. Whatever that wall looks like, or I'm not sure how deep the ditch feels, but on the other side of it is some amazing things. We just have to stay focused.
This too shall pass, right?
Absolutely. What I think people, and you can talk, I know you talk a lot about this, Benita, is our mind is a powerful tool. And I will tell you, and it doesn't matter how much money someone has, how much, whatever, we have the tools we need, each and every single one of us.
Yeah.
We have to look in the mirror and realize we are the ones that's going to make this happen. Now, I know there are some instances where that's not always the case. There may be some medical things that's not the case. But in most of our situations, we all have the tools to work through. And
do you think that was where your whole no options thing started? Was
yes,
realization coming through this?
It really was. I mean, the thing was, though, is I knew I had a daughter that I needed to get to the other side for.
Yeah.
I knew I had to be there. I didn't have an option. I had a daughter I needed to be there for.
Yeah.
And so, find your why. Everybody's why may be different, but find it. Yeah. Find it. I mean, it may be your friendship. It may be your relationship, maybe your family, whatever that looks like.
How do you think this changes how you think about time and priorities?
It absolutely changed my I always say, but every day to me is a bonus day. I get up every morning and put my feet on the ground, and I am just thankful that I'm here. And I'll tell you this, one of the things I have learned through this, and I want people to realize, and when early on, I did not ever think that I needed to take care of myself as much as we need to take care of ourselves. Okay. And when I say ourselves, our mental, our state, when I talk about our mind, there's a reason on the airplane when that oxygen mask drops, they say to put it on yourself before you can help others, right? Yeah. And then that's life, right? We've got to be able to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others. And that's kind of the way with my daughter, I needed to take care of myself to be able to help her. But I'll tell you, one of the things I have really learned through that is mental, whatever that looks like for each of us, right? But I get up in the morning and I spend some personal time. I mean, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you've got. But I absolutely book time for myself, right? To think about what's the day look like? What are today's goals? And then not only write them or think of, I visualize them. That was something I used to not ever do because I thought, I don't have time to do all that.
I don't have time. But you need to make the time.
You find the time. And I'll tell you, a big difference.
Because I think a lot of people, if they're hearing this, they're going to think about and they're going to focus on the physical side of it, but really that mental, I when I get up in the morning, that's what I'm doing is I'm spending time reading and meditation and prayer, and I'm just doing this whole process every morning before I get started with my day.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'm a faith-based guy, and so prayer time to me is very important, right? And so I used to kind of do that on the run when I'm on the drive to work, or I stopped doing that. I do it. I absolutely carve out time for it, and I'll tell you, it's made a difference for me because I think again we sometimes we neglect our self needs sometimes as far as the mental state and our like you said meditation, things of that nature, and I think it's something that I've learned that's definitely something we need to stay focused on.
Well, what would you say? Let's get down to something. I always like to get to something that's actionable and something that people can take. What are some daily habits and routines or mindset practices that you do now?
Well, I'll tell you, there's 3 steps that I have come up with that when I'm going through when I look back on it, I have a 3-step process. So when I run into an adversity or I run into a wall or get in a ditch, this is 3 simple steps because the word, think positive, be a positive thinker is such a blanket statement.
Yeah.
And when someone's in the ditch or looking at this wall they can't get over, that is a hard statement to digest. So what I did is I broke it down into 3 simple steps.
Okay.
And so when I run into something, this is really simple. I look at it and I say, in this situation, am I going to grow or die? Am I going to and that's what we do. We grow or die in this situation. So what we do is grow or die. And so I always say, am I going to let this win? Or am I going to somehow figure out a way to get my leg up on this and win?
Yeah.
So that's what we do. Number 2, it's hope or despair. That's how we think. I mean, am I going to play the victim card? Why did I have to have diabetes? Why do I have to go through multiple transplants? No. Find the silver lining. Find hope, right?
So you can be here now talking about this and helping somebody else.
Yes. I hope we can touch somebody, but that's how we think, right? We got to be hope. It's hope or despair is number 2. And number 3, this is the one kind of gets people sometimes, humor or drama. And that's how we talk. And when I say talk, I'm not saying talk to just other people, how we talk to ourselves. A lot of times we're our worst enemy. The voices in our head that we're telling ourselves we can or can't do. But what I do is I find some humor in it. Like, I mean, sometimes it's sick, and I mean, it's just something silly to me. It's something silly to me, like, oh my gosh, guess what? I don't have to take 65 pills a day. I only take 35 pills a day now. And but some people are like, oh my God, he's 35 pills. But to me, yeah, but I used to take 65. Or
yeah, it's all perspective.
Something that is you gotta laugh sometimes. Sometimes we just need a good laugh. So
can you feel yourself? I mean, have you trained yourself now that you can feel if you're going into some discouragement so that you can turn it around?
I do, absolutely. And that goes into, and you can probably talk about this as well, but that's, what I didn't realize. And as I've got into this, I've studied and I've gotten to, visit with some of the doctors and stuff on the mind.
Yeah.
Our brain is just like muscles that we work out. There's no different, right? And they tell me, they said, Ty, if you go to the gym, if you want to start working out and you want to, start, getting muscles, do you go to the gym and come home tonight and go, where they at? Or do you know that you've got to start going to that gym 3 days a week, 4 days a week, if I want to see results?
Yeah.
Our brain and our mind is the exact same way. We've got to keep working at it because naturally, if we run into a situation, our brain is going to go to the area that it's trained to. Is that negative or is that a positive?
Yep.
Right. And so it talks about the neural pathways and all that neuroplasticity. There's a lot of things that go into this study, but your brain, we train our brain to think certain ways. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm a positive thinker all the time. I do run into things sometimes, and I find myself, as you just talked about, maybe going down that negative side, and I immediately go, Ty, are you going to let yourself really grow or die here? Or, what are you going to do? And then how am I going to think? And don't let yourself talk yourself down that, because you can get into a rabbit hole real fast.
Yeah.
So these are just 3 steps, but I want to go back. Grow or die is what we do. Hope or despair is what we think. Humor or drama is how we talk. And when we do those 3 things, guess what? That blanket statement of being a positive thinker comes into alignment.
Right. Awesome. Well, do you, what has all this stuff taught you about listening to your body? Can you, because what you were just talking about was kind of like the mental part of it. Mm-hmm. Can you feel now that if your body's a little bit off?
Absolutely. I'm noticing more and more I am definitely more in tune with my body and understanding it. And, part of that comes with us just, as I get older and I understand, but part of it too is taking the time to take care of your body, to listen to your body, to understand what you're feeling, or understand what that means when you do feel it. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard this saying, and it just made me think of it, that if you don't take time for your health, then later on, your health is or your bad health is gonna make you stop.
Force you. That's correct. Absolutely. Right. But I don't want to stop there because I want to finish the story because it even gets better if you give me just so. After I received that, right, all organs don't last forever. So so my pancreas lasted for 12 years. So for 12 years, I didn't have diabetes, which was absolutely amazing.
Wow. And
then my mother's kidney lasted me for 20 years. Wow. So in 2019, now I've got a 10-year-old daughter at this point. I've got my business because we've got 45 employees at this point in time. The business is growing fast, and we're, and find out my kidneys are failing again. And immediately they put me on dialysis.
Because you have your mother's kidney and then you have your own kidney.
Well, my kidneys had failed, so I had my mother's kidney. And my kidney.
You just had one kidney.
I just had the one kidney, and my mother's kidney started to fail, right? So I've been put on dialysis. And so now 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I would get up at 4:30 in the morning and I would go to dialysis until 9:30. And then back to this mindset my dad taught me as a kid, dust off, you'll be okay. I didn't tell him. I would go to work and try to act like nothing was happening. My family knew that I did not like to talk about it. That was just the way I was raised. So I would go in there and try to be like, because I was the face, I was the guy that kind of got everybody going and kind of the rah-rah guy in the group. And anyway, So I would go in there and do that, but it just got harder and harder and harder. So finally, my sister was set to be my donor. And then right there at the last, they came back and said, my sister's kidney wasn't going to work. So my wife, who was a different blood type, and she said, Ty, I cannot watch you go through this dialysis. And I'll tell you guys this. If you know somebody going through dialysis, say a prayer for them, because that is a tough place. It's a hopeless place in a lot of cases because people are just waiting to get the right organs or whatever it may be, right? So it's just hard. But I'll tell you, my wife says, I can't watch you go through this anymore. It's just hard. But in the meantime, she asked me if we would go down. We were going to a family reunion, one of her extended families. And she said, we were there that weekend. And she said, Ty, do you mind telling the story? And I said, Crystal, if they want to hear my problems, I'll be glad to share it with them. And so I told my story, and on the way home that night, like 4 or 5 of them texted me and said, "Hey, thanks for sharing. I've signed up. We've gone on to be, sign up to be organ donors. Hey, that helped me. Hearing your story helped me through X, whatever that may be." And I thought to myself, well, how selfish am I if I can simply tell my story and help other people?
Wow.
And it kind of goes back to that Hawaiian thing, storytelling. I mean, it's important. We all have stories, and I encourage people to share because you don't ever know what the person on your right or left is going through, and that might have been the perfect time they need to hear your story. So that really changed my mindset at that point in time about it. But my wife says, "I can't see you do this. I'm going in and I'm going to donate my kidney. In return, somebody that matches you will donate their kidney to you and move you up on the list." So she goes in and she does all the blood work, and she calls me and she's crying, and I'm like, "What is wrong?" And she says, "Ty, I match you perfectly." So Benita, to say all that, I received my wife's kidney 6 years ago, and I tell you, it's been the best 6 years of my life. And the cool story is the 6-year-old daughter that I talked about having to leave and I wanted to be here for, about 3 months ago, I got to walk her down the aisle. So
see?
It was an amazing story. Again, on the other side of some of this adversity is some amazing things.
Well, how can somebody start building that kind of mindset? If they're in the middle of, something that just seems impossible, where would you tell them to start?
Small. We're not going to change it overnight.
Yeah.
Small steps, take small steps, and celebrate the small wins. Because so much we set this long goal of we're going to do this, and we don't celebrate the small wins along the way, right?
Yeah.
Kind of stop and smell the roses, right? Sometimes we've got to really think about that. And what I say is, if it is to start walking a mile a day, well, maybe today you can't walk a mile. Maybe you can walk, for 10 minutes. Well,
I was listening to somebody who started her transformation by just walking to the end of the driveway and back.
Yes. So, whatever that small step is, because I truly believe the 1% rule is such a true story, right? If we can get 1% better today, just think where we're going to be in 6 months or the year, right? So find the small things. And I encourage you, don't try to change the world overnight. Take something small. One of the stories to talk about, Benita, is the guy that wanted to start working out. He said he would get up the first day or two, he got up and got dressed to go work out. He didn't make it to the gym, but he started getting up and getting ready. And then the next day he'd get up and get ready, and he went to the gym. But he didn't work, but he started taking the steps to get there. And so what I encourage people to do is find something small and celebrate the small wins.
Right. Well, you're like this successful businessman too. And so you're out there. Just listening to you, here you are building a business and you're dealing with all this stuff. What has adversity taught you about leadership?
It's taught me a lot. First of all, I love people, and it's taught me to really appreciate everybody in whatever form and fashion they come to us in, right? Yeah. Whatever state they're in the present moment. And I think it's helped me in a lot of ways, because I feel like, there's a lot of times at work we talk work, but I love to get to know people and love to try to help people. Life's too short to just worry about work.
Yep.
How can I help you as a person, and we grow as a business partners together, right? Or as a team, how do we get better? And that's a side. But as a person, how can we work with each other? How can I help you? Because if I can't help you, maybe this isn't the right spot, or vice versa. A lot of times it's me helping you, but also them helping me. We help each other. And so I really believe it's helped me understand that we all come in different shapes, forms, sizes, and different experiences, and we're all dealing with different things. but understanding and listening to each other, because this world is a tough world. I always say we got to throw our arms around each other and help each other versus trying to find out what's wrong with each other, how much better somebody is than each other, and all that. How do we help each other through this? And so, yes, adversity has definitely helped me as a leader.
Yeah. So with all the health stuff that's in your background, did you feel like there were moments when you felt like things were impossible with your business?
I absolutely did.
And walked through that?
Yeah, I mean, there were days, I mean, I think it was just like any business owner, small business is hard. And it's just, I mean, but as you know, it's part of the U.S. economy. Small business carries this, this country in a lot of ways.
No kidding. It's the small business people.
But it's the hardest thing. And I think it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, but the most rewarding thing I ever did in my life as well. So there were days where it were really hard. And, but I mean, there were times, I mean, I just, I put my head down and say a prayer and find out what was the best thing to do at this moment, this point in time. And again, go back and taking a small step to get through it.
Well, what would you, I'm just thinking again about, if whatever people are going through as they're listening to this, what would you want them to hear from your story?
Well, I want them to hear that, I mean, I'm no, bionic guy, or I'm no something, I have nothing special. I'm not, we all have the tools we need, kind of what we talked about earlier. And so do you. So does every person listening. It's a matter of whether we're going to just determined to do what we need to do to take the small step. Don't go take the big leaps, and don't be frustrated. That first leap's not where we need it to be. Take the small steps and celebrate. Take another small step and keep celebrating. But I will tell you, it's not easy. But you know what? What is?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what is easy?
Well, you know what? I'm thinking too, Ty, of what it is that we can control. And when you think about it, the times, like a few years ago, I had a hip replaced. There's things that you are just completely not in control, right? You go into that hospital, you go into that surgery, you're out and somebody else is taking care of you and you don't have any control over that. The only thing really that you have control of is your mindset, right?
That's right. And be thankful for what we have at this moment in time. Right? Yeah. We can all, I think nowadays too, with all this social media and all these, different things and AIs and all this stuff, we always look at things that we wish we were there, or we wish we could have this, or we were doing something different. We're all blessed in our own ways, and we be excited where we're at and what we can do with what we have in front of us right now.
Right. Yeah, it's like what can I do? What can I, instead of I can't do that or I can't do that, it's like what can I do to help myself, really?
Yeah.
How do you hold on to hope when the outcome seems really uncertain?
And that's a good point, because I will tell you, as going back to my daughter, I used to really, it was hard when I would go to see graduations, and I would go to friends' graduations, and because I never thought I would be able to be there for my daughter. So I would not let myself dream that far out, because I never thought I would be there.
Yeah.
I never thought I would be there. And so to see her walk down the aisle, to see her graduate, to see my adopted daughter, who we got at birth, who's now 15, and she's getting ready for her graduation in a couple of years.
Yeah.
It's just been a blessing. And I don't take for granted of any day, right? I mean, like for this evening, I've got my 15-year-old has soccer practice. I go to practices. I love them, because that's a moment I get to watch her and be there with her and enjoy the day. I don't take for granted of anything, because we're not promised anything, right? So, but I just, I'm very thankful for all we get.
Well, do you feel like the this no options mindset is what real resilience looks like?
I do, because here's the thing. Sometimes, and this may sound a little harsh, sometimes we're too soft. Sometimes we just got to quit complaining, because it's easy to complain.
Yeah.
Quit complaining, and let's figure out what we can do to get there versus what we don't want to do, because if we don't do anything, guess what? We're going to be in the same spot tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
So let's do something to get us to the, and so I always just encourage people, let's tough it up a little bit. And I know, again, I'm going to go back because I know friends and I've got people that don't have that control. That there are some circumstances that's not as easy. It's easily said than done.
Right.
But in a lot of cases, it's up to us. It's absolutely up to us. So think that way. Don't give yourself a plan B, because it's too easy to take a route out when we give that plan B.
Well, our time is just about up. I always am amazed at how quickly time goes. I spend a lot of time talking about living with purpose and having, what your purpose for your money is, what your purpose really is for your life. So what would you like to leave our listeners with today?
I would say it's always, again, and I brought it up a while ago, as I've gotten through a lot of this, I just realized each day is so valuable. Yeah. But again, we live in a really tough world now. I mean, and I encourage everybody, let's try a little harder to help one another versus tear one another down.
A little bit of kindness goes a long way.
Absolutely. And I mean, we don't all have to agree. We all don't have to look at the same thing, but we can be respectful and we can help each other through. And I encourage that, because again, that goes into a mindset of how we look at things. Just because someone looks at it differently doesn't mean that they're wrong. It's just the way they look at it. But to me, again, it simply said, let's put our arms around each other to help us through. And I encourage you, find somebody to put your arm around and go share your story, because you never know who you can help.
Well, every time I have a new guest on, I want to remind everyone that on my website is a guest downloads, and there will be a flyer there that has Ty's information where you can find him if you want to reach out to him and have a discussion about any of this with him.
Yes. And Benita, I'll tell you this, because and this is going to sound funny, but on my information, on my website, tygipson.com, there is a phone number and there's emails and all this stuff. But that phone number is my cell phone.
Okay.
And I encourage people, if I could, my goal is to help one or whoever. And if they have questions on anything that we've discussed or know somebody that we need to talk with, call me. If I don't answer, I'll call you back. I promise.
Awesome. Well, okay, watch out. You might get some phone calls.
Bring it. I love it.
All right. Well, with that, we have got to wrap up. So thank you so much, Ty, for being with us today.
You're very welcome.
Thank you to everyone for listening to the Ask Good Questions podcast, and we will see you next time.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Benita Bell Anderson next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.